What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Take One podcast live episode. Little different from normal, and I'm super excited to dive into this one because listen, I've kind of been I couldn't hold it back. I had to rave about this movie already, but there's people on this panel with me tonight that I don't know really how they're feeling, and I'm super excited to dive into it with them. They got a lot of great guests tonight, and there they are. They have all been on the podcast before. We're gonna go ahead and start off with Final Girl Jess. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, ready to cause chaos and talk Scream 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring that energy. Bring that energy. Next up, Kevin. What's up, man? How you doing, man? I know you have not
Dude.
said anything. I know you're stressed right now.
Yeah, I'm like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 2, trying to hold the two trains together. I it has been like, this is my favorite franchise ever, and so it's been so difficult not to like really discuss it with any of y'all. And so I am excited. I'm nervous. I got a lot of things I want to say, but it's so good to be here, man. It took forever.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even been a full week since I saw the movie, and it feels like it's been forever. Next up, Jess as well. Final Girl Jess, how are you? Or discount Final Girl. Discount Final Girl. Sorry.
I know, right?
I knew I was gonna mix that up. I knew it.
We make it easy for you guys. But yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I've been waiting for this forever, so can't wait to talk about it with you guys. It's gonna be a good one.
I know. Super excited. And last but not least, my man Blake. You know him on TikTok, own podcast, Blake's Takes. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Been a busy week. Excited to finally meet everyone as well. But yeah, it's been a long road to Scream 6, and it's finally here, and we finally get to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate everybody joining the live chat. Just obviously a heads up, it's been almost a week, so this is definitely going to be a all-out spoiler conversation. So if you, for whatever reason, have not seen the movie, take your ass to the movie theater and go see it, because whether you end up liking it or not, it's good for the horror genre. And I think that's kind of where I want to start off. $44.5 million domestically, I believe, the opening weekend, which is the highest for any Scream movie in the franchise, which I just think is huge, whether you like the movie or you don't. Like, for the genre, man, I think that's big. Anybody can jump in. I know. So that's like the most confusing thing. It's like, I don't want to cut nobody off, but this is like free wild. Anybody can jump in. But I think that's like really big just for the community, for sure.
For sure. I mean, it's great to see, movies doing good at the box office again, because ultimately that's how these movies get made. So especially for the horror genre to see it do that well at the box office, I'm really happy to see it do that well.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Like, it brings in a whole new generation of Scream fans, because I know probably all of us are really big fans of the original trilogy, and it's seeing so many younger fans come to the movie theater to watch a Scream movie, like, even if you don't like it or whatever, like, it's still really cool to see. So you're totally right.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, especially like when it comes to award shows, like, horror just doesn't get love, period. And it's honestly a fucking shame. Like, it is, like, there's so many people that in the past should have won Oscars for their performances.
Yep.
I'm big on Mia Goth. I think she should have at least been nominated for one.
Yeah.
And the fact that she wasn't, man, it's just sad. So, for this being the number one movie in the box office this weekend was pretty big. So, I guess really outside of that, it's just kind of free range. I want to go through everybody and just kind of get their overall view into it, and then we'll obviously jump into certain categories. But I guess I'll start. Actually, who wants to start off first? Who wants to be that person to kick it off? Okay, I'll go.
Oh my God, no one else. Yeah.
It's fine. I'll go first, just because I've kind of put everything out there about how I feel. I love this movie, and I'm super happy to say that, because I'll be honest with you. I've said it before on multiple occasions. I was not a fan of Scream 5 at all. I watched it the night before to kind of prep and get ready, and I just think it was a tough watch. Like it was still one that I couldn't get through, that had a lot of problems that stuck out to me. And that'll show in my ranking a little later. But yeah, being able to go into this movie, I mean, really from the jump, from the beginning, I thought it was a really good opening scene. I was kind of nervous though, because obviously when he took his mask off, I was like, okay, they're obviously going something different, which is one of the things I asked for. But you got to kind of hit on that. So as soon as they did that, I was super nervous. I was like, okay, where are they going with this? I just thought it was a pretty badass opening. So from the jump of the movie, I was satisfied. And I guess just diving into it, one of the things that I really wanted out of this movie was more gore. I wanted Ghostface to be darker, and I feel like that they kind of promoted that. They definitely promoted that throughout the trailer, it seemed like. But you know, we've seen this before. Were they going to deliver on that? And I thought they did. I thought the kills were really gruesome in this movie. I thought that they were really good. And Ghostface just felt like intimidating to me throughout the entire movie. There's so many chase scenes throughout this movie that I really enjoyed, that I felt like we didn't get a lot of that in the last one. And sticking with Ghostface, I think one of the things that's probably the most positive for me is just the amount of time. Like whenever Ghostface is on screen, I feel like we spend a lot of time with him. It's not like a 30-second chase and he's out the back door, or a minute chase and he's out the back door. Like that bodega scene, like the tension, like you could just hear, which you should always be able to hear, but you know, these days in movie theaters, you could just hear a pin drop in the movie theater, and like you could just feel the tension in the actual theater. And I thought that was one of my favorite scenes. And they didn't rush that scene. We got to see that tension build, which I thought was a huge different, you know, kind of feeling from Scream 5. And then really every other scene, again, that he's in, the apartment scene, Gail's scene, just the fact that we actually get to spend time with Ghostface on screen, I thought was kind of a good positive for me. And then we're going to go through the positives, and then we'll jump back to the negatives. But I guess one of the last positives that I would jump into, which would be something that I was really looking forward to, is the characters in this movie. I think that was my biggest issue with the last movie, is I didn't connect with any of them. I think my favorite from the last movie was Mindy. Like I really liked her and what she brought to the movie, but I still don't know if I really fully connected with her in that last movie. And I just think they did a phenomenal job in this movie. There's a couple characters that kind of I'm not the biggest fans of, but that's kind of me just nitpicking. Like I thought they brought a whole different game to this movie, and I have to give super props to Sam Carpenter, man, and Melissa Barrera. I thought she did a fucking 360 from what she was in the last movie. I'm talking about in Scream 5. Like I would roll my eyes in almost every scene she was in.
Really?
Like, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
Whoa.
I just did not connect with her, and I don't know. I would always ask myself, was that just because she's quote unquote supposed to be the new Sydney, and I don't like that? But then after a couple rewatches, I was like, it's not that it. Either the writing was bad or her acting was bad, and I don't know what it is. So whatever got better, whether it was the writing or the acting, I'm gonna personally lean more towards the acting got better, because there's still some dialogue problems that I have in this movie, and then we'll jump into that. But I just thought she did a 360. I thought she was fucking phenomenal. So I know I'm kind of long-winded there, and that's fine. Y'all go as long-winded as y'all want to, but kind of just your overall view of the movie, and then your positives, and then we'll go into the negatives. Okay. Whoever wants to go next.
I guess I'll go next. All right. I mean, first of all, I had a lot of fun with this Scream. So whatever I say, it wasn't a bad movie. I think it was good, and I had a lot of fun with it. They were doing a lot of things different than usual. Like you said, in the very opening scene when he took off the Ghostface mask, I was like, oh shit, okay, switching it up. And the core four, they really, really shined in this movie. Melissa Barrera, that's that's big shoes to fill, being the final girl in this Scream franchise now. And I think she's done a great job at filling those shoes. Tara Carpenter, Jenna Ortega, she was amazing. Chad will, kind of front runner for like my favorite character in this Scream. I really like, I feel like they gave a lot of these characters, more purpose for us to connect with them. Like we were getting with Chad and Tara in this movie with that relationship. And as much as I was having fun with this one, I feel like in the end just, I don't know. It kind of left the sour taste in my mouth. Like I left that theater not exactly sure what I thought of it. And as much as they were trying to be different throughout the whole movie, I feel like that final act, it was just kind of back to the formula. Like we were right where we left off. And I don't know. There could have been so much more. I know there was talks of, Nev Campbell wasn't in this one because of contract dispute and all that. So it kind of made them, switch up the motive in the end pretty quickly and that whole situation. But then I also thought they didn't take full advantage, of some characters that they brought back, like Kirby, like Gale, and some creative choices that they made with their characters. So in the end, I think this movie did a lot of things well, but I think, the cons for me kind of way heavier than usual. So that's me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting to know. Interesting to know that. All right. Who's up next?
I'll go.
I'll go. You want to go? Jess, take it away.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like this one, kind of like what Mike was saying, it's more bloodier. I felt Ghostface was more ruthless. There's a lot more layers and elements to this film. I mean, it did have its meh moments that I didn't really care for, and that scenes that could have been taken out. But for the most part, I feel like for the scenes and the cast, the moments that were there, they kind of utilized. I don't know how to explain it. Like Ghostface utilized his environment, is what I'm trying to say. So I really appreciate that. And the part 4, I feel like were way more likable this time around than 5.
Yeah, no, I agree. And another thing I want to point out too is I felt like one of the things that I wanted them to do was actually utilize the atmosphere, and by that I mean New York City.
Yep.
We knew we were getting the bodega scene. We knew we were getting the subway scene. And I didn't really see any TV spots after that. I kind of shied away from all that. So outside of that, I didn't really know what we were getting into or where we were going. And I thought they did a really good job with that. I thought that New York City kind of played a character of its own in a sense. I didn't think they went too overboard with it. It wasn't a Jason Takes Manhattan kind of situation where they walk through Times Square or something. Like, I see a lot of people like the apartment scene. I know a lot of people question, like, why does the guy have a ladder just sitting in his apartment? And I get that, but it is also New York City for anybody who does live in like the city. And it's, if you don't have a fire escape on the side of your building, people usually do, or they're supposed to keep a ladder in case of a fire. But just stuff like that. I just thought they really utilized the actual city the way that I wanted them to. And like the subway scene particularly, like I felt like I was scared that we were going to see all of that in the trailer, and to a point we did, but it was kind of still very effective. It was very effective in just how Ghostface was used with the lighting going in and out. Like I just thought the usage of that in the city was just pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, some scenes I can say, became some of my favorite of the whole franchise, like that subway scene. I think they did a very good job with building, tension and suspense in that scene.
Yeah. I hate this thing. I'm gonna be a little devil's advocate here. I did not enjoy what they did with the setting. I mean, I enjoyed it, but they were, in my opinion, they were trying to do way too much. Like, it was in New York City, sure, that makes sense. It was also Halloween for like a day. But other than that, they could have used the Halloween feeling to make it more eerie, more atmospheric, like put some pumpkins somewhere, have it like, I don't know, it could have been more fall feeling because New York does get very like fall vibes, I guess, if that makes sense. But
it was oversaturated.
yeah, to your point, to your point, like I see like the subway scene and the apartment scene, but it could have been in Chicago or DC or wherever has like that like transportation. So I feel like they push New York City really, really heavy, but they didn't like meet that quota. But you're right, it would have been tacky if they would have went full like Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like, I just thought it would be, I guess, where I could see they would have went more, but like, I just didn't want them to like push so hard where they're like fighting under the Statue of Liberty or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? But no, I get what I totally get what you're saying. And there's a lot of people out there that I've seen a lot of comments that they wanted to see Times Square involved in some sort of way. And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying in general. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things they could have done. I just think for me personally, it really worked. But yeah. Jess, any final thoughts on positives before we go to Discount Final Girl?
Yeah.
Just like I said, the core four was more likable. I really enjoyed. I'm a gore girl. I love blood, so they really, hit the nail on the head with that one. So those are my positives.
Okay.
I love that. Sorry, the whole Jess thing is like throwing me off more than I thought it was.
What's funny is when Natalie had to back out because of a work event tonight, I asked Kevin to invite the other Jess, and in my mind I was like,
could you have imagined?
I'm just setting myself up.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I'll go. I'll leave Kevin for last. But positives. Like everyone else, the characterization really was kind of front and center. I really liked that they seemingly took our feedback and gave us more character development between Sam and Tara, because I was fully in the whole that I was not a fan of Sam in Scream 5. I thought she was very obviously the weakest character, acting wise, but also writing wise. And that's like one of my big nitpicks for Scream 6 as well. So writing, they're trying to go Kevin Williamson, they're just not quite getting there. But other things, I totally agree with you when you said that Chad is a standout. He is my standout too. I think he's like such a great character. I think he was kind of taking like the Dewey-esque route, but not quite going full Dewey, but making his own spin on it, which I really appreciated. I thought that was really fun. And I liked the gore. I agree with Jess. I guess Jess's are gore hounds. I love the blood. And I think that's about it.
Did you enjoy the opening or?
I enjoyed the opening a lot.
Okay.
I thought it was really fun. I thought it was like, I don't know, it was different, right? We can all agree that it was something that we had never seen before.
Yeah.
And I really felt like they actually utilized that New York City setting in the opening. And that was probably like the most we felt of it. And I love Samara Weaving, of course. Who doesn't love Samara?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Really, really nice. Kevin, before you go deep diving into your negatives, man, I need your positives. Give me your positives first.
Well, before I get okay.
Actually, the floor is yours.
Got a lot to say.
Floor is yours, my guy.
Oh my gosh, man, it's been the longest week of my life. So, like, back to what Mike was saying, I promised him I wasn't going to say anything until this live stream, which felt like the biggest mistake of my life because this week felt so long not to be able to talk about this movie and this franchise. But
you told me one thing, but I expected that.
I did. Yeah, but we talked a little bit.
I expected that. Like, and we'll talk about that when we get to our rankings, but I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, so before I get to my positives, like, again, this is my favorite franchise ever. So I think I hold it to a higher standard than the other horror franchises. I also think it's really tough to talk about these beloved horror franchises because they have such a big fan base and people ready to throw hands if you have any criticisms or critiques. And so I have positives and negatives with this movie. But, you know, Wes's movies just mean so much to me personally. And I was really hard on Scream 5. Like, it's no secret I really don't like that movie for a lot of reasons. but I think I was able to kind of overlook the flaws that Radio Silence did with that movie because you're taking the keys to one of the biggest horror franchises in ever, and that's no easy task. That's a daunting task, following in the footsteps of Wes Craven. And so I think I was able to, even though I still don't like that movie, I was able to kind of overlook like the trepidation and was cautiously optimistic that they could kind of correct their mistakes and do something unique and creative and kind of relieve themselves of that pressure, if that makes sense. So I was cautiously optimistic for this, but I still was worried because I'm not a big fan of Radio Silence's writing and their directing. Saying all that, I enjoyed the first third of this movie. Like I was pleasantly surprised. I was talking to Jess after I got out of the theater. I was kind of grinning from ear to ear because I was like, wow, the writing's better. They're spending more time with the characters. And that felt so refreshing because I think the biggest problem I have with Scream 5 is it feels so contrived. And you have like the Billy Loomis aspect, which just feels so gimmicky and it just feels silly. And I think what made Scream so special was, I mean, there are silly aspects in Wes's movies, but there's always a sense of danger and logic underneath that. And so I think that's why Scream 5 just did not work for me at all, was the dialogue and just the weird aspects that just did not seem realistic. And so I was pleasantly surprised for the first third of this movie. And then we get to the scenes where Ghostface starts gutting people and they're making jokes like 2 seconds afterwards. They're making like overly meta jokes, which completely dilutes and contradicts the brutality, which I don't know. That just doesn't work for me. Like I like horror movies where I can relate to the characters. And you root for the characters. And when Ghostface is running around and gutting people and stabbing people, they're essentially paper cuts. Like I can't get invested to these characters anymore because it's so, it's just not what Scream feels like to me. And so I had a tough time from really that apartment scene, which is really like brutal and fun to watch. And then I think her name's Annika. She gets gutted. I love her character, by the way. She gets gutted, and then she's climbing on a ladder, and I really had to suspend some disbelief. But I don't know. I'll shut down the ramble because there's so much to say about this movie, man. But it really had a hold of me until it didn't. So, yeah.
What'd you think of Ghostface in general overall?
I thought he looked great.
Because I know you weren't like the biggest fan of The Mask, and we were always going back and forth. Like, what did the shrine mean? Like, was that like a little too much for you, or was that not like the biggest problem for you? Like, was that something that was okay?
I still think there's a lot of Easter eggs and fan service that Radio Silence is plugging into this to draw in the fans and more money, more audience. And so I was interested to see how they were going to work in the shrine, and I did not like how they worked it in, but that's okay. But I thought Ghostface looked really unique, and that was refreshing. It was optically pleasing, even though it felt like they just copied and pasted from Halloween 2018. So I like Ghostface. I didn't have a problem with how Ghostface looked in Scream 5. It's really just the reveal and the motives that really sours everything for me.
I feel like one of the things that I get from this is they're copying the other movies in a sense, right? I guess in Scream 2 we get one of the killers being Billy's mom.
Yeah.
And then obviously their second installment of their quote unquote trilogy or however many they plan on making. Their second movie, we get a family aspect as well of the previous killer or the first killer. I will say I didn't even think about that. I think one of my biggest things going into this movie is who the killer could be. So I want to ask you all, how long did it take for you to guess the killer? Did you know who the killer was? Because I will say for me, up until that going into that third act, I thought it could be Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
Just because just the way they were handling her character, and then they kind of made it too obvious that's kind of who they were pointing the finger to. So I was like, oh, like when he called and said, "Get out of there," you know,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's not Kirby. Like I just knew it wasn't Kirby. So I'm gonna ask y'all, did you know, or how long did it take you to find, you know, kind of figure it out?
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Was there a scene that stuck out to you?
When the dad was not, I feel like they played up what's his name? The cop.
It's like Wayne something.
His real name's like Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah. But he was like, they played up his whole character as like being a protector of his daughter because of they lost whatever in the car crash. But when she died, he was not as like upset as he should have been.
He got over it. He got over it quick.
Exactly. I did not see a single tear on that man's face, and I was like, no, something's wrong here. Something's a little fishy. So I picked up Quinn and the cop like right after that.
See, I kind of thought the same thing too, but then again, like my mind immediately jumped back to Scream 5, where like, well, there was really no reaction when Dewey died. So like, is this just
that's just bad writing?
I was like, so is this just bad writing again, or is this just, you know? So I was going back and forth in my head about that. Blake, what about you, man?
You know, I don't know. To be honest, I want myself to, you know, be surprised. I wasn't really trying to guess too hard. But man, when they revealed it, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, come on, bro. I don't know. You know, let's talk about it. Cause I mean, once they revealed that it was Richie's family, I'm like, bro, get Richie out of here. I don't
get him away.
Yeah. Richie is the worst.
Leave him in the past. You know, I already
that was a big L.
That wasn't my favorite reveal in the 5th movie, so that was even worse for this one. And motive wise too. I mean, this motive was bad enough that I thought the motive in the 5th one was, you know, decently better. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't really going in trying to pick out who the killer was, you know, just having fun, going with the flow. And then once they revealed it, I was like,
they pulled the
come on. It sucked the life out of me.
They pulled the Roman Jr. scene right there. Oh, he's dead, but he's not, or she's dead, but she's not, you know.
Yeah.
I talked to someone and they were like, they really got like the Wish version of Mrs. Loomis with like Richie's family, like the discount version. But yeah.
Final Girl Jess, what about you? Did you have an idea, or?
I feel like, well, 2 out of the 3 I guessed initially right when they introduced them. I pinpointed it. And then Ethan Landry, I think that's his name. The character. I didn't realize it was him. I don't know if they kind of, because I feel like the cast was oversaturated. So I was like, who's the third?
Well, they were pointing to him all movie long, so I was like, okay, they're kind of overdoing it. So
right.
I don't think it's him.
Yeah.
I feel like the one that really stuck out for me was the cop. He was just always fishy to me from the beginning, and how, I don't know, how he was never there. He wasn't there at the bodega scene. That's just a weird time for him not to be there, in my opinion. But I don't know. He's the one who stuck out to me that I kind of pinpointed from the beginning. The other 2, I will say that I had no idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but Ethan, I didn't even realize it was him. It was him or Sam's boyfriend. I was unsure about. But
Danny.
Like,
I thought it was Danny too for a second.
See, I didn't think they were gonna do. I didn't think they were gonna do Sam's boyfriend again. So I
agree with you, Blake.
Danny at all. Yeah.
I think I wanted to be Danny because he was the most physically imposing out of all the new characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I knew it was the cop because if you think about the shrine and all the evidence, who would have access to that? The cop.
Yeah.
And so I knew it was I can't remember his name. Dermot Mulroney. I don't know his character's name in the movie, but
I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Hold on.
It's
But-
Wayne Bailey.
Wayne Bailey. Yeah.
Bailey. Yeah.
Bailey. Officer Bailey or Detective Bailey, whichever one.
I was confident it was Ethan. I didn't suspect. What's the girl's name?
Quinn.
Quinn. Even though for a second, whenever Ghostface is in her room, and that was kind of weird. It's like, how did he get in there? How did they not hear him come in? And I was like, that I could see them faking that, but then I just forgot about it until she does the reveal. I'm like, okay. But man, I just want a Scream movie where the villains, the killer reveal makes at least some sort of sense, and it's not so convoluted and like just a paper thin motive, man. And I think that's where the production kind of came in, where how fastly, this was greenlit and rushed into production. I think you need to have a little bit more time, because this movie had a lot going for it. Like, it looks great. Ghostface looks great. The sound design's great. They did some good stuff with character development until they kind of didn't. And then the end is just so silly. And I was just, it was hard to watch, man. It was tough.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't hate the ending as much as y'all do. Yeah, I don't.
Ooh.
There's a bigger issue I have with this movie, and I think we can go ahead and dive into negatives, because I'm going to be talking about positives throughout this entire stream, because
Someone has to keep it light.
True. I got to keep it light, but I would say my biggest issue with this movie was, I think that I guess the best way I had it written down as the fear of loss. They won't kill anybody.
Yeah.
And
This was was this the least amount of kills we've had since the first one? Because no one seemed to die.
it was
Who died besides like the therapist?
Well,
The
boyfriend,
Weaving,
Quinn.
Paul, I think. Or no,
well, in
So-
the
The two guys.
two guys. So in the opening scene, you
bodega
got
guy.
you got three people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, of course, you don't see one of them. One of
Yeah,
them's not
yeah.
on
So
screen.
really
Greg.
two.
Plus,
I'm gonna say 3 because you see his dead body. Like,
Yeah.
and then two people in the bodega, I believe.
True.
13 kills, including Ghostface's.
Okay, so maybe more
It's
than I
a real
thought.
thing.
Interesting.
I
Maybe
guess
more
it,
than I
Throwaway
thought.
kills.
Yeah,
they are throwaway kills. They
Yeah.
don't have any like gravity to them.
They don't, but
they're good kills, but
I'm
like,
gonna-
yeah,
I'm
they don't
gonna-
have
I'm
gravity.
I
I feel like they
Like
don't count
Mindy,
because it's the core.
Mindy. Go. Oh, my
Yeah.
bad, Jess, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like it doesn't count if it's not the core cast.
Yeah.
It still doesn't count.
Nah,
Not the core 4.
I get that. But yeah, that was probably my biggest issue with this movie was, one, I think I saw your TikTok today, Jess, and I think you don't like the way they handled Gail, and we can talk about that. But
Either.
But let me say this. I loved her chase scene in the apartment,
Yeah.
and I just thought that she come on, man. She should have just went out. And as bad as it is, because I love Chad as a character, my man got stabbed 92 times and still lived.
Dude,
I mean,
he
and
should
no,
have
freaking
died.
Mindy, they stuck a
Mindy
knife in
too.
it and twisted it. She should have
Yeah.
been dead. And at the end of the movie, she was like mumbling
Right.
about like, I was right. Da, da, da.
So
Her
stupid.
brother is getting
Awful.
wheeled into an ambulance.
and
Yeah.
running around and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
listen, if you want to,
Yeah.
I think they all three should have died. But if you want to keep Mindy, like,
Kill them all.
whatever, like, I can overlook that. But keeping all three of them, like, they got fucked up.
Yeah.
Especially Chad. And that, I'll be honest with you, I thought that was probably one of the coolest things of the movie. Like, when I saw two ghost faces on screen in costume, I think that's the first time we see that
Both in
as-
costume.
as
yeah.
killers. I thought that was so damn cool. And then you get to the end of the movie
And he's just
and,
like,
and he's living, and I just felt like it dilutes that scene a lot.
It does,
As
because
much as I love
I really connected towards Chad's character in this one. Like I said, he became one of my favorite characters of this Scream. So yeah, when they brought him back, it definitely
That
dilutes
would've-
that scene.
That was the impact kill because they
Yeah.
did
Uh-huh.
good with his character up until
and that
last
would have
one.
messed with Tara too. Further her character development as well.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. I think Mindy should have died on that train. Imagine, because
Yeah.
they're kind of mimicking Scream 2 with this. So, you got to kill one of the twins or the brother and sister because they're a king. They're Randy essentially, or Mindy's like Randy. And so imagine them killing Mindy, Chad and the Tara and Sam. They all come to find her and cut the jokes after you get stabbed. Like cut that out. I can't stand
Yeah.
it. Imagine them finding Mindy gutted. They pull her from the train. Chad's like wrecked. He looks up across like the tracks. Ghostface is there staring at him. The train like goes down the
Mhm.
tracks. Ghostface is gone. Imagine how good that would have been instead of Mindy going, "I got it wrong again." Oh God.
Somebody hire
yeah.
Kevin. Someone
I'm-
hire Kevin as
Oh
a
my
writer.
God.
I'm clipping that, Kevin, and I'm gonna DM them on Twitter. That
Imagine the emotional weight, and then instead of Chad, have it be Danny that gets killed like that, just like Derek
Yeah.
did in Scream 2. Have them just
Uh-huh.
tear him up and kill him in front of Sam and whatever.
it's just hard for me. Like, I just say Chad because I love that scene and I love the way that they just standing there fucking him up. Like, I love that so much.
Yeah.
And because I did connect with his character in this movie, I thought it hit a little different and a little harder. Like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy to me how much likable these characters are. Like, that was just a big shock to me. Like, I promise you I'm not trying to shit on 5, but my God.
No, but that's a good point, because I feel like
Which
all
is
the
a good
characters
thing. It's a good thing,
Yeah.
right?
I think so. All the characters in 5 just felt so bland. And with this one, like when we're introduced to them immediately, I'm just like, I am falling in love with these characters. I was so surprised. You got Chad and Ethan like dancing around at the party. You got Sam, who, like, back to your point, Mike, like Sam really stepped it up. And there's a line of dialogue in this movie where she's talking about, it really sucks when people hate you so much. I thought that was kind of like a nod at the fan base giving her so much crap.
Yeah.
At least I thought that, but I thought she really held her own. She had a backbone and she brought it until, man, the end with her and Tara and the whole, like, you got to let me go. You got to,
Oh my god.
but I don't want you to go. Like the whole, they just went through like this crazy shit with all these killers, and Kirby's bleeding out, and we're going to have like a little heart to heart about being with each other. It's just, man, y'all had something good going.
Or while they're sitting on the steps at the very end, and it's like,
At the very end.
Oh my God.
someone's in the lobby that might still be alive. Kirby, gotta check on Kirby. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
Mhm.
I mean, and they
What
pulled
are
the
you
knife.
doing?
They pulled the knife out of her and was like, "I need this."
Oh, I was like, have you ever like seen any horror movie?
Like,
you're
you're not supposed. You're not supposed to pull the knife. Like, But I don't know. I would say those are my two standouts. Is the fear of killing off characters, the dialogue after something good happens, like as far as like stab, murder, whatever it is. I don't like that. I thought the overall dialogue was a lot better, like in regular scenes throughout this movie, but I thought it really took a L with the dialogue when it came to like y'all said, like after a kill or after a stab or something like that. I thought it took a real back seat. And then my last thing is going to be just the way they handled Kirby's character. I personally did not like the way they handled Kirby's character. It was just weird. Now, I kind of give her a small pass because I know this is her first acting gig in several years. So I don't know if it's like the writing or her acting, which one it is. It's just, as much as I'm not a fan of 4, I love that character in 4 a lot more than I do in this movie. So I would say those are my 3 issues, and probably really the only issues that I have with this movie. Now, granted, those are kind of big, but yeah, I would say those are my 3 standout issues. Who wants to continue shitting on this?
Kirby definitely
And hurt
to
my
me-
feelings.
Kirby definitely to me felt like a character that the fan base adores, like kind of wedged into the story just to bring someone back and to kind of replace the energy that Sydney brought. Like, I think Kirby was just brought in for fan service and just a kind of like a plug and play character. And it just felt off. It felt weird. Granted, I know she hasn't acted in a long time, but I just don't like anything Radio Silence is doing with these legacy characters, man. Like I had a really big problem with Gale in this movie, like a huge problem. I had a big problem with how they handled Dewey.
Can we talk about Gale real quick? Like, let's talk about
Talk
that
about
because
Gale.
I did not have a problem with the way they handled Gale. Like, I thought Gale was now for me. I just thought Gale was. I didn't like Gale in 5. I just thought she was a throwing character that was out of her element. I feel like in every single movie, except for maybe 4, Gale has always kind of acted the way she did in this movie. Like, she's always been career driven. Let's be honest, she's talked about Dewey in her books, she's talked about Sydney in her books, she's talked about Sydney's mom in her books. I feel like every movie, again, outside of maybe 4, she starts off in that, oh, this is my career type mode, and I did something bad, but by the end of the movie she migrates into she's a part of the team type of character where she puts her career to the side. So I'm interested to hear why y'all didn't like her character. My biggest issue with anything they handled with Gale, and I talked to Kevin about this because in the trailer I was like, listen man, if that's Gale's boyfriend in her apartment, he deserves what he gets, because that's way too. You're not going to do my man Dewey like that. Like, you're not going to do that. So that was my biggest problem with Gale. But outside of that, and outside of them not killing her, I just thought it was back to being old Gale. Like, maybe that's just the way she's handling her trauma. I mean, I don't know. I just felt like it felt like normal Gale to me compared to Scream 5.
Yeah.
So I want to hear y'all's opinion on that.
I feel like, so it was, in my opinion, it was like an obvious callback to Scream 2, where at the beginning, Dewey is, at the beginning of Scream 2, Dewey's like, you wrote all this stuff in your book, like, why did you say this, da da da, which I get, that's like how her character progresses, but also, at the end of the day, as a big Gale fan, I feel like Gale has kind of morphed into a more sympathetic being, and I get that she's like a hard-hitting, like, journalist, or whatever she is, but she lost Dewey. Like, she lost the love of her life, her best friend. And like, granted, they weren't together and they were going through their issues. Like, they still went through a lot together. And the fact that we didn't see anyone grieve Dewey, especially Gale, is a very big issue for me. Like, we lost like one of the iconic members. We lost Dewey. Okay, like, there's gonna be never another horror character like him that has his presence, that has his like overwhelming effect on the franchise as a whole. We saw 0 people grieve Dewey except for Gale yelling like, you killed my best friend, or whatever the fuck that was. that doesn't count, okay? Or she says it in the 5th movie, or whatever. But that was a really, really, really big issue for me. And the fact that they really just like said, let's give this character absolutely no redeeming qualities, no character arc, no good whatsoever. They're like, let's make her a badass. People relate to that and love that. Sure, of course we love that. Gale's always been a badass. Gale has always known how to shoot a gun. But Gale also is sympathetic, and it just really, really, really bothered me.
I felt like one of the problems with that, though, is there wasn't enough Gale time. Like, because again, I feel like we do start off in almost every movie with Gale kind of the way she started off in this movie. And throughout the movie, we see her, again, kind of put her career to side and turn into that Gale that we love. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see that because she was gutted. I mean, I just felt like that part was maybe rushed, because we do see her take them to the shrine and all that stuff. But usually we get a lot more character development with her. And I don't know. I didn't have the biggest problem with it, but I love hearing the opinions, though, because it does make sense. And one of my biggest problems with Scream 5 in general was it's fucking Dewey, and they didn't do anything. And then I see your point rolling over into this movie. It was, wasn't really touched on at all anyways, outside of her looking at a glass case and going, oh. So I get that.
Yeah, if there's going to be a point where you really see a drastic change with Gale's character or decisions that she was making, it was going to be when Dewey died. And we did not get that. And I mean, this kind of plays into like you said, how, her role in bringing them to the shrine and everything. and this kind of plays into other characters as well. Like Kirby, in my opinion, is we didn't get too much detective work as well, because Gale was like, "Oh, I'm still Gale Weathers," but it's like, okay, well, what the fuck did you do then? Like, how?
Yeah,
What's
exactly.
going on? Like it just was kind of presented to us, and I feel like we didn't get as much of that detective work. Hey, like Scream 3, we get Gale and Jennifer, doing some dirty work.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Yeah. So I feel like there wasn't, especially with Scream 5 and 6, these newer ones, there's not as much detective work going on, because it's still just as much a mystery as a horror as well.
Yeah. Jess, do you have anything on Gale?
I just feel like Scream in general is Ghostface, is Sidney. And because we didn't have Sidney, they threw in a legacy character, which is Gale. But I felt like, kind of like what you guys are saying, there's no character development. This cast was oversaturated. So it just felt like there was a lot going on. It was nice to see her, but I feel like her writing, it just didn't flow right for me. But I mean, it's like I didn't not like it, but I didn't like, oh my god, love it. She was fun.
Yeah.
It was good to see a legacy character in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can kind of feel the absence of the other legacy characters like Sidney and Dewey, because Gale is part of that original legacy characters as well. But man, you can just really feel how much those other two carried those other movies.
I felt like, sorry, I'll just say something really, really quick. I felt like I didn't miss Sidney until a point where I missed Sidney, and then I really missed her.
I did not miss Sidney as much as I thought I would. Shockingly, and that's
Get out.
Listen. That's my girl. I missed her. Like, don't get me wrong, but I'll be honest. I found myself missing Dewey a little more in this movie, despite Chad's character development. I did not expect. That's another thing I didn't expect in this movie. Like, I mean, I'm a Sidney stan. Like, come on now. Like, I was telling.
You are.
Oh, I know. I was telling Blake about the time, Kevin, that I met Nev Campbell and how I fucking froze when she was talking. Because he messaged me last night and he was like, "Look, she's coming to a con near me," and he was like, "I got to do it," and I was like, "Dude, I made myself look like a fucking fool."
Yeah.
When I met her, like,
she'll make you almost pass out, man. She's great.
I'm like starting to sweat talking about it.
I know.
But like seriously, like I agree with you, Jess. I feel like I miss Sidney most in that final act. That's when I personally missed her most.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. I have two. Well, it's about Sidney and Gale. So I think we all love Sidney because you can relate to her. She fights and she fights hard, and she fights for herself. She fights for her friends, and she fights for victims of violence. She's just so like overwhelmingly human, and the way Nev Campbell brings this gravitas, this energy to Sidney is so believable, it's so endearing, and like you always root for her. That's why she's the best final girl. And I think
Say that again.
She's the best final girl ever. I think she doesn't fit into these new Scream movies because she's so realistic, and these newer characters don't feel realistic. And so I'm afraid, as much as I want to see Sidney, bringing her back would almost like not feel right, because these movies feel so not natural and organic. Like the levity and the horror is not there for me. And so I love Sidney. I think the few lines of dialogue they say about her having her happy ending and "Don't tell Sidney Ghostface got me" were nice.
Did you like the fact that they threw in fucking Mark Kincaid too?
Never, man. No,
fucking,
never.
What a loser, man. What a loser.
Did he took Mark and the kids?
Oh, it's the worst.
Kincaid, bro. That's crazy.
Kevin immediately texted me and said, "Fuck them kids." That's what he said. No, I'm just.
I hate Kincaid so bad.
Oh my god.
But on Gale, honestly, this was the first time I've wanted a legacy character to die, because I despise what they did with her character, and I hate saying that because it's Gale Weathers, but to like,
I want her to die too.
To Jess's point, to Blake's point, they said it perfectly. To me, Gale felt so bleak and like foreign and cold. Like, of course, she's assertive. She's this like take no shit type of career-driven businesswoman. That's who she is, and that's why we love her for it. But she also has a soul, and she's also loyal, and she fights for her friends. And Man,
So
it would have just been nice to see Gail really broken after, like, there was no funeral, there was no grieving, there was no reminiscing. She had a new
yeah.
book, a new man, and like amnesia of her former like life changing events, and it just I hated what they did with it.
Sucked.
It felt disrespectful.
To your Sydney point, I feel like one of the reasons I say I don't miss her is because I felt like if she was in this movie, she would have just been thrown a character to throw in, and she is not the character that you just throw in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I just it's as bad as it sounds. I'm glad she wasn't in it because her character deserves a lot more than that, and it's clear that their focus is on this new core 4, which is the way they've written it in this movie. That's fine. That's I'm okay with that. I'm okay to move on. It's just I'll always remember the last taste in my mouth for Sidney Prescott is Scream 5, and that just doesn't sit well with me. At least at least for now. But I don't know. I just thought that they should have killed Gale off. But that's my opinion because for multiple reasons. But I just thought the scene was very good, and I just feel like when you don't do that and you don't go through with that, it just dilutes everything that just happened in a sense.
Yeah.
As much as I loved it, you know what I mean?
It also felt really kind of like similar to how Dewey died, where it's just like these characters have been through the ringer. They're not gonna unload all their bullets and not waste anything because they're trying to be killed. And so it just felt like these characters lacked all of the experience and knowledge and trauma from these past events. And so I had a big issue with Gail with the whole like the gun box where she has to like use like her face ID and she's moving all these things around. And it's like, why would you not just have a gun so accessible? And then she fires through the door and then she stands over top of Ghostface. It just felt too similar to how Dewey went out. I'm like, these characters mean so much to so many people. Do them right or not have them in the movie. And it got to a point where like, dude, when Chad came out at the end, I don't know if you guys have seen Pineapple Express, but Danny McBride's character where he comes crawling out of the barn after it's exploded, it felt like that because these characters have been gutted, shot, stabbed, and it didn't matter. And so
they should be like studied in a lab because honestly at this point it's just like superhuman. I mean, I will say like I think what they're scared of, and this is like maybe controversial, maybe not, but the cool thing of what Scream has done, especially with like the 5th and the 6th movie, is like try to reboot a franchise that is so loved by so many people, but also they have built so many new characters. Like I have people commenting on like my TikToks that are like, oh, my dad said if I get an A on my history test, he'll take you to go see the new Scream movie. Obviously, they're like very young.
Yeah.
And what we know about like younger fans is that they tend to like stand things very, very hard. They love characters. And so I think they're scared of killing off these characters that so many younger fans have latched onto and like absolutely love, and the backlash that they would receive if like these characters were killed off. Because I feel like with our generation, we understand that like the best thing to do would have been to kill Gail because we have so much emotional like weight latched onto her character, and to see that severed, we understand that that's a part of horror and that's a part of like grief and despair, is like seeing a character you love so much come to an end. But like maybe the younger generation of horror fans don't understand that yet.
Interesting. And I will say another thing too is it felt like, Mindy's character, she kept saying no one is safe. Like I feel like they kept emphasizing, oh, no one is safe now, no one is safe, but no one died as well.
No, I agree with that part. I don't know. I feel like I agree with Jess on that point because even though I didn't like 5, it's got pretty good reviews.
It does.
Whether that is from the old generation and the new generation or more the new generation. And now this movie with the reviews that this movie is getting, I think they are scared to kill off those characters because what if they do and whatever they continue to do, they're not going to get, the follow-up to that. I mean, so I think that definitely makes sense. But like for us And like you said, Jess, like it would be so impactful if that happened. Like, I didn't like Dewey's death in 5 just because of the way it played out.
Yeah.
If it would have played out differently and they would have killed him, like I didn't mind them killing him. It's just I did not like the way it happened, and of course the events following that. So I don't mind them killing off legacy characters. It's just, is it going to be effective or not? And for me personally, in this movie, I thought, being that I didn't have a huge problem with the way they handled Gale, I thought it would have worked. I would have liked to have seen it, and it just didn't happen. And that really disappointed me. As much as I love Gale in general, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I think if you're going to kill Dewey, he needs to go out either saving Gale or Sydney. I think that's the only way you write it. That's
yes,
it.
100%.
Yeah, and I think the problems that they have in these two movies, again, as much as I love this Gale scene and would have loved to have seen her go out, like, why not have that happen towards the end of the movie? More specifically for Dewey in Scream 5, like you said, protecting Sydney or protecting Gale. I just feel like his death scene in the hospital, although I thought it was a fucking gnarly kill, what was it for?
Gale got his ass killed.
I mean,
yeah,
it was
for nothing.
Yeah,
it was just to add some weight to their requel, really.
And are they making Chad the new Dewey in a sense, where he just gets stabbed every movie and comes back? Now, to Dewey's credit, though, he didn't get stabbed 92 times.
No, he didn't.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I don't know. Jess, final girl, Jess. No, you're good. How do you feel like that they handled Gale in general in this movie?
Just like I was saying, I feel like because like the whole legacy thing, it just felt oversaturated. I mean, again, I didn't care, or I didn't love it. You know, like it wasn't a big issue for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do like see a lot of people leave out Gale in their reviews, so it makes a lot of sense. Like, it just wasn't what the focus of the film was actually on, so it kind of just like got swept under the rug. That makes sense.
Again, and although I personally like the scenes that Gale was in, maybe they just brought her back because it was the only legacy character they could bring back.
Yeah.
And it was going to, now again, I would have went and seen it without Gale or not, but maybe they just thought in their minds if they were to add Gale in there, it would draw a lot more people in, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know. Who knows? I just thought they should have killed off a lot more people, meaningful people.
I feel like it should have been Chad, to be honest.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and as much as I would have hated that, I agree, because it would have left an impact.
Exactly. Like, you emotionally latched onto his character. Like, you can relate to him. Like, he was the standout character, and if they would have killed him, it would have been impactful.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like because Jenna Ortega is getting a little bit bigger now, they want to kind of give her a love interest to give her more of a storyline with him. But I feel like to fill that impact, they should have killed him off.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, her big thing in that movie was when will she ever get to live a normal life? She tries to, and it's just not happening.
She's just trying to party.
Trying to
party.
How did y'all feel about that, by the way?
What
party scene?
I guess, like, I can understand people grieve differently, and I'm so particular with this stuff, but I just like realistic characters. And so whenever she was just so aggressive with Sam, like, get your hands off me, let me live my life, let me sleep with who I want to sleep with, it just felt, I wanted her to like break down crying or something. Wanted to just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just so fucked up. I wanted to feel more for Tara, and instead she just seemed very like, I'm fine. Get off of me.
Right.
Angry and unlikable.
So I didn't have a problem with them, having Tara be like that, where she was grieving in her own way. But maybe to your point, if we got a scene like that down the road to like show her vulnerability and what she's actually feeling, then I think that stuff in the beginning of her different ways of grieving would work really well. And I think maybe that's kind of what that scene with Tara and Chad was kind of seemed like it was going towards, but ultimately didn't lead there. So if we got one of those kind of scenes down the road, I think that would have fit perfectly with what her character was doing.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I feel like she's
Yeah.
still in college. She's still partying. But
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like later on they can bring the grieving part on
Right.
in for her
'Cause it-
character. But I mean, when that scene came on, I was twerking in my seat.
Yeah, I mean, because I do believe that people like handle or grieve in their own way, and I'm not saying I've seen people grieve in that exact way, but I've seen people go the Sam route, and I've seen people go the Tara route too, where I feel like Tara doesn't really want to face any of that. She just kind of wants to ball it all up, put it aside, and try to live her life. Where Sam, she wants to be the protective one, wants to have everything kind of out on the table and try to work through her problems. And a lot of that maybe has to do with her being older. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a big problem. I'll be straight honest with you all. I absolutely was in love with this movie up until the third act. Like I'm sitting there literally thinking like, bro, is this competing with Scream 2?
No, I mean it was
Yeah,
for
big
most
eyes,
part, it was
right?
a lot
Big
of fun,
eyes.
but I mean,
It was a lot of fun, yeah, up
Yeah.
until a certain point.
right.
Yeah, like I don't know. I
They
just
I feel like they were just paying homage to it. I mean, with the music. I mean, they had the Nick Cave scene, the punching scene to Gale, things like that, which was fun. But yeah.
Yeah, I like that part.
I was really feeling everything all the way to the core 4 dinner. I was like, they're really taking
Yeah.
the time for these characters to bond. I feel it. I love the opening. I don't even think I've mentioned the opening. I love Samara Weaving Scream. That's such a great opening.
Yeah.
Loved everything all the way until the apartment core 4 dinner scene, and then Ghostface attacks, and then we get overly saturated again with like the meta comedy dialogue when people are supposed to be like running for their lives, and there's just too much comedy after something horrific happens, and then it just continued to like expand and worsen from that point on, where it just got so unbelievable. But I was really, really feeling this movie until that point.
Do you think maybe that's like a problem with, I don't know, because you talk about the comedy aspect, and I feel like there's kind of been a problem with a lot of franchises or bigger movies lately, is they kind of try to rely too much on some comedic relief to release attention or to engage with more family friendly younger audience. Obviously it's a Scream horror movie, it's not trying to be family friendly or anything, but I feel like with a lot of big franchises, yeah, the comedy can sometimes just not be there.
Yeah, it started to feel like a Marvel movie.
Right.
It started to feel very Marvel-esque, like Deadpool-esque, and like there's a line in Scream 4 where they say this isn't a comedy, it's a horror film. People live, people die. And it just felt like a comedy movie more than it did a horror movie. And that disappointed me.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to make it more relatable. Like they're trying to appeal to a younger audience when like we're over here screaming, like build that tension, don't break it, because that's what we want. That's what we're like all aiming for, is like that final kill and the tension that you've built leading up to it. Like the whole, I'll always like refer back to the opening scene in the very first movie. That whole opening scene is just a masterclass on how to build tension.
Yeah.
And if they need to like take any notes from any movie, it's the first movie, because Matthew Lillard and like freaking Randy Meeks, like they're just like making these jokes, but they know when to do it and they know when to stop and they know when to pull back. And it's I think it's writing as well as acting.
Well, I felt like in the first movie too, they would happen in like scenes. So like for me, like what really sticks out to me in that first movie was the video store scene, right? That was supposed to be a comedy scene ending in kind of a foreshadowing moment when he grabs Randy by the shirt, right? Yeah. But like the comedy isn't happening after somebody gets killed or anything like that. And I think that, again, that was one of my issues with this movie, because I thought one of my biggest positives ends with one of my biggest negatives, and that's that I do think we spend a lot of time with Ghostface, and that we do build that tension in certain scenes, and then by the end of those scenes, a dialogue or something happens where it kind of makes everything super corny. Like it takes away from Ghostface and what he just did in that scene.
Yeah.
So I think that's, for me, was the reason that I guess kind of, was just a negative in general for me for the movie.
Yeah, go back to like just the first three. Like, remember Casey discovering her gutted boyfriend, and then her mom like seeing her hanging remains, and then Gail
Oh,
discovering Randy's legacy tape, and Sydney putting Roman in his place. Like, there was moments that we were able to linger, like in the horror and the tragedy and these emotional crescendos. I just feel like that is just missing from these radio silence movies, man.
mhm.
Yeah, it's a good point y'all bring up about that opening scene and the very first one because when I was rewatching all these again from before Scream 6 and just watching that opening scene again, I was like, I don't know if it's just because I love these movies the more I watch it, but I'm like, each time it gets sadder and sadder. I'm like, oh damn, with the quick time, short
Yeah.
amount of time that you're able to just connect with Casey and just well, especially when her parents come out and see her and her mom just breaking down. I'm like, damn, this is actually really fucking intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Any negatives that anybody wants to dive onto that they didn't get a touch on, or
I mean,
anything,
it's not,
or anything that's
yeah.
not outside of like favorite kills, favorite
Well,
moments.
Kirby was kind of a letdown for me.
So
I know
yeah,
we
let's talk
talked about her a
about
little bit.
Kirby. Yeah, let's talk, because that was a letdown for me too.
Yeah.
For many reasons. But why was it a letdown for you?
Well, I mean, obviously everyone loved her in Scream 4. And I don't know, it just seemed like we were gonna get a lot more from Kirby. She comes in, she's in the FBI, which already, I mean, yeah, it's not really too believable. She does look like a child. I like that they made a joke about that, but I was really expecting.
See, like that, like I can deal with jokes like that,
Right,
but
Yeah.
I can't deal with the
'cause that's a realistic joke.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't deal with the, oh, you just got stabbed in the gut. Nice. you know what I mean?
Right,
We need to think positive, or the line that Annika says after she gets gutted. Try to be positive.
Right, yeah. But I just really thought, like I said earlier, we were gonna get more detective work from her. I kind of did. I did like the idea of leaving these masks at each murder scene. I mean, what it ended up leading to motive-wise at the end obviously sucked, but yeah, I just thought we were gonna get more from Kirby, and just that whole mystery aspect of these films has kind of faded away with these last two. I don't know. Yeah, Kirby definitely wasn't my favorite, as much as I like Kirby's character.
Yeah. How does everybody else feel about Kirby?
Oh, I do want to say shout out to Kirby for giving Roman Bridger some props for being the only Ghostface act.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. That was good.
That was cool.
That was good. That was good. I like that a lot.
I will say, unfortunately, I don't think there's like enough to say about Kirby's character, and that says a lot in and of itself. Like, I felt like you could have just picked her up out of this movie and like plopped her down, and it really wouldn't have made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Other than like, I feel like the only time she was important was like the very end where he was saying like Kirby's not in the FBI. Da 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 da. That's the only time her character was actually relevant. And while I love they brought her back, they could have done it in a better way. Like, I am probably of the minority when I say I would have loved to see Kirby turn evil. Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
Like
actually,
something like that. Yeah.
I was gonna ask y'all about that. Obviously, that was something they were flirting with super hard.
Yeah.
Whether it was when they different things, whether it was the detective saying, she's been fired for like 2 months or let go for 2 months, or whether it was the good camera work where once she gets them back into to where the shrine is, like she gives that evil look and kind of walks off like, oh, okay, like is this really where they're about to go? So obviously you feel like that would have been a positive. Kevin, what is your perspective on Kirby? Would you have liked to have seen her gone evil in that situation?
I thought they were going to go that route for a hot second. I was just what they were doing with the writing. I was just like, man, there's no telling where we're going to go. But back to what I was saying about Kirby. I like Kirby as a character. I don't love her. I thought bringing her back was, like I said, just for like some fan service and to kind of fill the role that's from Sydney. And so, like what Jess was saying, she really didn't need to be in this movie. She didn't really serve a purpose. Neither did Gale, really. So I just wish those two characters were given more to do and were respected better. I didn't, man, I just keep thinking of when she threw the TV on Ethan at the end, and she's like, saw that in a scary movie once, and it's just, so
Cringe.
That was pretty
Yeah.
cringe. Yeah, cringe.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, that's where my issues kind of lie is with that third act. Again, I don't hate it as much as y'all do. I saw another comment too, and we'll kind of dive into the actual third act and talk about that, and then we'll dive into each subcategories. But final girl Jess on Kirby, how did you like her character and her development, which
I mean,
whatever it was.
I'm not a big fan of Scream 4. I didn't care for Kirby to come back. I'm sorry, but not sorry. Yeah, I didn't. And like what Jess was saying, she wasn't really in there to even say anything about it. I wish she would have gone evil. I was kind of iffy at the end. I was like, could it be her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't care for her. I'm sorry, but not really.
Better than Richie.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be honest. Like my dog is better than Richie. No, offense.
I would hope so.
I'm just talking about like fuck Richie, never. But I'll be honest, I didn't like Amber either. Like she was
Me
just
either.
super corny to me too. All right, anyways, all right, real quick, let's talk about the third act. Obviously, I feel like even people who love this movie like me, that's kind of where the issue lies when it comes to talking about a lot of the negatives. What were y'all's biggest issue with that third act? Now the cop out answer for Kevin would say everything. So I need like give me like really some specifics, man. Like I would say like for me, I saw it in the comments that somebody actually liked it. I didn't like Sam putting on the costume personally. Like even in the first movie, I'm not the biggest. I don't hate it. I'm not the. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Sydney putting on the costume. Like I don't know. I don't hate. Again, I don't hate it. I'm just saying like I'm just not that. I'm just not the biggest fan of stuff like that. And
But I mean,
I don't-
she's.
I didn't mind it.
I
True.
didn't mind it either. She's Billy's daughter, so.
Okay,
I don't
know.
another thing with that. I really thought they were gonna get rid of the Billy hallucinations in this one. I really did.
What were they
did it-
thinking?
I thought they
Like-
were too.
like- Bro, you trying
Yeah.
to grow her character, like she's getting past these past events. She's accepted that she's a daughter of Billy Loomis. Quit bringing him back. You can have her moments where you see she's contemplating about something, but we do not need
We
CGI ski.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
god!
I
It
thought the
was-
same thing until I saw him on the red carpet at the premiere. I was like, oh no, he's in this movie again.
Yeah,
well,
I was like, she's in a picture with her. We're
Yeah.
gonna get it. Like,
yeah, I've
and he
never.
looks old. Like,
I was not a big fan of him, and I'm still not a big fan of them doing what they did. But I will say I enjoyed it a lot better than in 5. And I think one of the reasons of that is because we only saw him in like 1 or 2 scenes, and
Right.
it was in a reflection. Like I believe in Scream 5, there was points where 1, I thought they showed him way too much, and then 2, like we actually saw him like that's not in a
Right.
reflection. And again, I wish they would have left it out. But
I really thought they were going to.
Me too. But then again, to your point, I saw him on the red carpet. But then again, I saw a lot of people from Scream 5 that died that were on the red carpet. So I was like, oh, maybe they're just showing some respect.
Right.
But and we got a good amount of ways through the movie where we didn't see him, and I was like,
Yeah, I
So
know.
so they learned from their mistakes. Okay, and then they showed him, and I was like. That better be the last time we see him. And then I think they showed him one more time, and it's just something that doesn't work for me. But I will say if that's something they're sold on for whatever reason, at least is like we didn't get that full CGI body. We got the reflection.
Right.
We got the reflection look. But I personally just leave it out. Like you
Yeah.
did what you wanted in the first one. We know that he's in her mind. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't want this, but I think they're gonna bring Stu back in 7, and they're gonna have some weird like Force Ghost thing where they see each other in 7, Billy and Stu, and
No.
Stu's my favorite character.
That'd be
favorite,
weird.
Favorite
Yeah.
killer.
Weird.
He's my
Stu-
favorite.
Listen, man, I'm telling you now, Stu, Sydney, and Sam are all gonna meet up together at the end of Scream 7.
I hope
See,
not, but I think it's
I don't
gonna
think
happen.
so. I think Stu's dead. I think they're gonna leave Stu dead, and I think it's gonna be Sam and Tara's mom in Scream 7.
Okay, I'll be honest. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. I thought that's who the killer was in
Right.
this movie. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because I was like, I remember looking over. I go see these movies with my sister. We're big horror fans, and we're guessing throughout the movie. I said, "Oh, it's got to be your mom." And my sister was like, "Oh shit!" Like that would have been pretty good in my opinion. But
like, I mean, or like, what about the stepdad too? Because once he found out from Tara or from Sam about Billy, it totally ruined their family, split their family apart. So you could bring in that aspect as well.
I would like that a lot more than them bringing Stu back, and a lot of that has to do with, it's not that I don't want to see him on screen. Like it's not that. It's just, again, I'm not the biggest fan of the way these writers have handled legacy characters, so I don't want them to risk that. Like I just don't want that to happen. So I would prefer the mom, the stepdad, way before. I would even prefer Homeboy from 5. No, I would prefer Homeboy from 5. I'm just saying, like, in retrospect, like, I just, because I can hate it. I don't have to, hate something that has to do with Stu. Like, I want to leave Stu on that high note that I have him on.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's a very high note.
Very high note. What were we talking about again? Finale.
The final.
Okay, I don't think anybody went into details. Anybody like
we kind of just been rambling, but
no, which is good. I'm good with that.
What about like the whole Richie wanted to make his movie? Like, what the fuck? I don't know.
That was awful.
That was
terrible.
That was super weird. That was super weird.
Even the beginning where Jason is like, "We have to finish the movie." I'm like, "Stop with this! Stop with this stuff! Just make it, please ground it more." And they did for a little bit, and then the ending just got so Scooby Doo.
Well, I thought they were gonna go away from that, because in the beginning, Ghostface said, "Fuck the movies," or "This isn't about the movies," or something like that. I was like, okay, like that's that. There we go. Like that's a positive right off the bat. Like okay, where are we going with this? And obviously, it went back to making the movie or whatever. But I don't know.
The only good thing that came out of that was that we get to hear Red Right Hand one more time.
True.
I mean, whatever it was, the abandoned theater looked cool. Like the lighting was really nice.
Right.
But it just
the
felt
lighting was really nice.
like that's it. And then when Sam and what's his name, Bailey, they do like the Fast and Furious King Kong Godzilla charge at each other.
Okay,
man.
That was very bad camera work. Whoever, like, that was terrible. Like, that was very bad. Especially, that was bad. That was bad. I admit that.
So, and also, my friend was texting me yesterday, and he was like, I really thought they were gonna do something when, the dad, Wayne Bailey, said, you killed my favorite son, and we see a look at Ethan for a second, like, okay, maybe that's gonna cause some shit going down between the family itself, and they just ended up not doing anything with that. He thought maybe
cool to see the family like implode.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool,
yeah. He thought they were gonna go that direction, and ultimately, they did not. So,
anything else on anybody want to say on the final scene? I guess or the final act. I guess we're all. I mean, we're obviously kind of all on the same page. It just was not. It did not work. It was not the best.
Yeah.
I will say the last thing I'll say about it is that the fact that the owner of everything was Richie killed it for me. Like it was so cool to see everything in a room together, and that would have been like
it
awesome
really
if
was.
They would have played it up way more, because like as soon as that trailer came out and we saw all of, like that whole room, we were so excited, and the fact that it ended up being Richie's just killed it. That could have been so freaking cool.
Definitely missed opportunity not having Sydney walk through there too. And I mean, I get it. Like, it wouldn't have made sense that she wasn't there. Like, that makes sense. But yeah, that's definitely a missed opportunity.
Yeah, because can you imagine her walk?
I know.
She
That
would
would've
rage,
been-
knock everything over.
Yeah, like
You're so right. She would be like, "Fuck this!"
Fuck all that
Right.
shit.
like
And like I
Yeah.
get it that it's also affected a bunch of other people. But yeah, I mean, when it boils down to it, comes back to Sydney for the most part.
yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen Glass Onion, but the scene at the end where she just runs
Yeah.
through the mansion and knocks everything over. I
Yeah,
can see Sydney
yeah.
doing
Yes.
that. But going back
It's the
to
Mona
like
Lisa on fire.
as like so stupid as the finale was, like Detective Bailey just giggling like a bad Scooby Doo villain, and just
Right.
all the dialogue and how unrealistic it was. What made me hate it so much more was when Sam and Tara sit down on the steps and they have a little heart to heart
Yeah.
about letting, like, I like you being closer to me. You don't have to let me go. I hate that stuff. I hate it.
It's like, as much as I love all the Scream movies outside of the first one, this doesn't apply to the first one because I think it works so well with Stu. The fact that after every killer reveal, they get like super silly and goofy
Okay, yes,
and
yes,
laughing
yes.
like that, like that
Yeah.
has always bothered me. It's obviously something I put aside because I love 2, I love 3, but like outside of the first, Stu was the only one, in my opinion, that it really, really worked. Like I had absolutely zero problem with that. But like to your point, I'm glad you brought that up to where Detective Bailey is just giggling. Like
Yeah,
that's stuff we
yeah.
see in like with and 2 with what's his name,
Mickey.
with
Mickey.
Mickey, like where he's like laughing like, you didn't see it, come and see it, didn't you? Like I just like stuff like that's just so like stay evil, like, you know what I mean? Like there's you don't
Right.
have to get like
And I liked when Mrs. Loomis, she was like, "No, I'm very sane," and then she starts getting
Yeah.
crazy, but she seemed more level-headed.
yeah, I don't know. I just, again, in the end, I think Discount Final Girl, I think you put it best when it came to your video. I messaged you about it as far as expecting and comparing these movies to the original and the movies that we fell in love with. I'll be honest with you, they could have hit on this movie in the end, like the third act, and for me personally, and it never would have been as good as that original. That original
Yeah.
holds a very special place in my heart. So I've really tried to go into movies not comparing it to the original. And that's something that I've, done pretty much always until here recently. That wouldn't have changed my opinion on Halloween Ends, but that's a whole nother
Yeah.
story.
That's such a good point, though, man. Like,
It's
I talked to
Jess's
you.
point. Jess's point. So.
Well, I was gonna say, like Jess's point is perfectly said, and I talked to you a little bit about this, Mike, this past weekend. But like, even some of the sequels in the Halloween franchise are not good, but there's still aspects to them that I really like, and that's why I go back and rewatch them.
Mhm.
I'm fine with that. I think my biggest issue just goes back to Scream has always had that grounded sense, even though it does get silly. There's
Mhm.
still that level and that sense of danger and logic, and I just feel like that has just completely gone out the window with these last 2 films. And I
Right.
know, like, the further along we get with
Uh,
franchises, the messier it gets, and I understand that, and I am happy that it is successful and people are really loving it. But to me, I think it's okay to still really love something, but also still kind of like want more because it's right there. Like, of course, Scream 6
Mhm.
never would have lived up to Scream 1 ever, or
Right.
really the first 3, which is what I love. But I think they had something, and all you got to do is just make the characters realistic, give me some decent dialogue, some brutal kills, and you got a good movie. And I think they just wasted it.
Yeah, that was a really good point.
Go ahead, Blake.
I was just gonna say because that is what Scream did differently than Friday the 13th, Halloween. Those movies, it was okay for them to go over the top, and like we'll still go back and watch it. We still love it, but Scream did bring that sense of reality to the horror genre.
Yeah,
I think we also have to realize, like, at the end of the day, that special something that was brought to the first 4 movies is Wes Craven. And unfortunately, like, he's not going to be able to touch another movie ever, which really fucking sucks. But, like, at the end of the day, it boils down to something, and, like, how much of that is Wes's influence. And I think it's a lot. So I think, like, it's also important for us to take a step back and realize that. and realize that like, yeah, we might not like these movies, but also like Wes isn't around to give his 2 cents, put his input in to make it something special like what we're used to. So I think that's why we latch on to the original movies so much, is because it has his influence and it just means so much.
Yeah, I mean,
Well said.
very, very good point. I just think, man, you cut back on the corny dialogue, they had a lot going for them in this movie, in my opinion.
The good thing is that the characters are there. You have the characters.
Yeah.
Which is an improvement, in my opinion,
Yeah.
from the last movie. So we see they're making improvement to an
Right.
extent, but
And that's very important.
there's no reason, like for me, my biggest problem was not connecting with any of the characters at all. Like I should be able to connect with with some of the characters throughout the runtime of an entire film, and I didn't do that with the fifth one. And in this movie, I did do that. So it's just like, okay, you had that aspect there. Why not just for me cut out the corny dialogue after the kills? If they did that for me, I thought the dialogue in general was a lot better. Like even just the normal dialogue, because in Scream 5, the normal dialogue had me rolling my eyes. Like just the normal stuff, like not even after kills, just like, and stuff that wasn't supposed to be funny. Like I was just like, that just doesn't make sense. And I know I don't know about the first installment, Scream 5, but I know in this one they had multiple writers involved in this. So they obviously made an improvement, but again, all they have to do for me is cut out that corny dialogue. Like you don't have to do that. If you want to have a scene here and there where you're supposed to have some comedy in it, I don't have a problem with that, but don't take away from the tension that I thought they did a really good job in these scenes in Scream 6. Don't take away from what you worked so hard to build.
I think you need to say to yourself, would someone say this in real life? If they wouldn't say it in real life, like don't put it in the movie because it probably sounds stupid.
Yeah.
And also the heart.
I'm not going to sit there and say I got it wrong again. I'm going to be like, get me to the fucking hospital, please.
Shut up.
Yeah, if you go back to like the first few movies, like they always made fun of the horror tropes, but it was always like in an organic way. And it just feels like this really started with Scream 4 for me, where everything started to feel, the Scream movies started to feel a little too like the Stab movies they were parodying. And so, man, I think they really got to cut back on the meta and the comedy. Yeah.
I will say one more thing is like the musical score is huge for me in movies. I think it was obviously amazing in the first one. I think it's something that stuck out to me with the first three. And there just hasn't really been any signs that, hey, we want to improve on this score from the past as well, because I think that is one thing that this newer Halloween trilogy did do a great job at. I know they're not the best movies, but it's
phenomenal.
It's so good.
It's John Carpenter. It's phenomenal.
Agreed.
They did a great job at, having their own variation while still paying homage to, the original scores. And like those scenes with Michael, and it's like a siren sound, and it's just so intimidating, badass. And I think the score for me really, really does elevate a scene. And man, they just didn't show any signs of with the score, like, hey, we want to elevate this scene because of the score.
Great point.
I agree. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to say as far as the movie goes before we dive into kills, moments, and our rankings? I don't want anybody to not be able to say what they say. I know Kevin wrote a 15-page book.
It's coming, yeah.
A mini book on it. So, do you for real, man? Do you have anybody have anything else to say that they weren't able to touch on that they kind of want to get out?
I think I got my points.
Yeah, this just feels good to talk about.
Yeah,
dude, I know you.
Oh my
God! I feel like there's so much to say. Like we could just keep going on, but it's just like, oh.
True.
Yeah.
We've been on the podcast for an hour and a half, which is crazy. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our favorite kills. I didn't want to limit it. I just kind of wanted to talk about the kills that kind of stuck out for you all that you really enjoyed. So I'm actually going to kick it over to Blake. Do you want to kind of run through a kill, 2 kills, whatever's kind of stuck out to you that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, shit, there would have been a lot of kills that stuck out to me if people actually
A
died.
lot,
Right,
right?
Yeah,
yeah,
people would have
yeah.
died.
So because of that, it's really made me reevaluate the kills. So I'll go ahead and say I guess the one that sticks out to me the most, well, I don't want to get her name wrong, Annika,
Mhm.
on the ladder, because well, one, I don't like heights like that anyways. So her being on that ladder and just finally shaking her off. I really
Not
enjoyed that scene, so I'm gonna go with that for my favorite kill.
okay. I'll go. I would say 2 that really stick out to me, and to your point, it would have been a lot better if like again, I love seeing 2 Ghostface on screen, so the Chad kill would have been up there for me, plus the impact
Yeah.
that it would have had. But
Right, yeah.
that's yeah. So Annika is obviously one that sticks out to me, not only because of the whole ladder thing.
Mhm.
I loved again how much we actually get Ghostface in that scene in the apartment, and I love how he's fucking with her on the ladder,
Yeah.
and then finally tips her over, and then obviously to her death. But even from the beginning when she gets injured, I think it's her where he stabs her and actually goes up her stomach with the knife. I think it's her.
It is.
And that is pretty damn gruesome. So that one really sticks out to me. And the other one would be Ethan is the other killer, right? I have to go with Ethan because I remember sitting in the theater and seeing Jenna Ortega just stab him right through the fucking throat, like through the mouth though.
Right.
And I'm not gonna lie, my shoulders literally went like this. I'm like, oh man, like. Oh man, you want to talk about Sam having some evil in her? I don't know. Tara might not be too far down the line. So those are the 2 that really stick out to me, and you can throw in the therapist too. It had a lot of good kills in it and a lot of good gore, but those are the 2 that really stick out for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go. Ethan was my favorite kill of the whole movie. I think it was unexpected and it was really cool. It was something new because we're, of course, used to people getting stabbed. And while I will gladly watch someone be stabbed over and over again, I think like the mouth was like, because that our senses,
Yeah.
we take away our senses, like we're going to react to something like that. Like eyes, fingers, the mouth, that's one I have rarely seen unless it's like, tongue related. But like, I think it was brutal. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Agreed. Yeah, that one was my favorite. I feel like when you seen Jenna Ortega come and just get the knife and shove it down his throat and said, "You're gonna die virgin," it's kind of like rewriting the rules of horror.
So good.
Of like Scream 26 in general. So I thought that was so cool. It was different, and that's what they're trying to do something different, and I appreciated that. So I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
I really like that apartment scene all the way until Annika is like totally fine. But like whenever they realize that Ghostface is in the room right next to him and they stand up and they kind of huddle together, I'm like, fuck, this is intense. Like the sound design was good.
It's like
Their
what would
acting
you do?
was good. Like Mindy's just like I believed their fear. I was like, fuck, it's about to go down. And then Ghostface is just like crashing through the door, and you can just feel it. Like it's a really heavy scene until Mindy goes past the bathroom and she's like, fuck, that guy's dead. And it really dilutes it there. But they had something good. And then even Mindy's acting, whenever she gets her arm slit, it felt believable. Like she was actually like getting weaker. And this was like really intense. And then Annika's talking about positivity. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Come back. And then she's on the ladder. And how crazy would it have been if she like started like her bowel started to come out or something really fucked up started happening? That would have been sick. Did anybody else start to laugh?
Yeah.
When Ghostface gets the ladder and he starts to shake it, it reminded me of like being a kid with like hanging out with the dudes and we're doing something stupid and they start fucking with me or we're fucking. It just reminded me of that. So I started laughing there, but I do think that kill's really memorable and badass, but it could have been so much darker and memorable. But my favorite kill was the opener. I just think Samara Weaving's scream was like incredible. So that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also like the fact that Ghostface, who it was, like he didn't hold back. Like he went to town on her. Like was not playing any games. So no, that's a real good one. Again, it sucks so much because I feel like my absolute favorite would have been Chad. Like I don't think for me, I don't think it would have been close because again, seeing two ghost faces on screen was so cool to see, and then like again, they're just holding him up and going to town on him, and then like there's Tara and Chad are staring at each other. Like it was just such a good scene, and then
they really did go to town. Jesus, man. Oh
yeah,
my God.
and then my man comes out and throws up the 4. Man, I'm like, man, he's just.
Let me get what he's on.
Yeah, like give me some of that.
They even had like the Mortal Kombat like double wiping of the blade. It was it's crazy.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into our favorite moments. Some of our favorite moments. I'm going to kick it over to Discount Final Girl.
The opening scene. I know. I feel like I've like talked through everything.
It's
opening scene for sure was really great. Samara's kill, her whole like sequence, that scream was really good. Kevin's point, the apartment. Before things got a little bit silly, you could really feel the tension, and it was like quite scary. The bodega, I thought that was really well done, really cool.
Forgot about the bodega.
Yeah, right. Just like seeing Ghostface with a shotgun, like a lot of people didn't like it. I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting. And Tara punching Gale in the face. I thought that was full circle.
Yeah, I was gonna ask y'all's point on that. Did anybody on this panel have a problem with Ghostface with a gun? Because I did not. I feel like as soon as that trailer came out, everybody just flipped shit and was like, "He only has a knife. He only has a knife."
Yeah.
Very good choices. Other Jess, what are you picking for yours?
I liked the bodega scene. I felt like Ghostface gave no fucks who was around, who was watching him. He just went straight in, got at everybody, whoever was in his way. That scene felt very long, and I was like at the edge of my seat, like, damn, when is this gonna end? And that was my favorite moment.
Really, really good. Kevin, what about you, man? Oh, did I already go to you?
No.
Okay. I can't remember. Okay.
I really liked the opening so much. I knew it was I don't know his name, the actor's name that plays Ghostface, but Flash and Spider-Man.
Flash Thompson.
I knew it was him. I could recognize his voice. I'm like, please don't let him be the killer throughout this whole movie.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that they gave this like a really fresh new opening. Although, like when he gets back to his apartment, I want some realism. Like, even if he's just like sick to his stomach after what he did, or just something realistic, and he gets back, he's like, "Yeah, she gave me a C+. That bitch." I had just the dialogue really ruined it. But whenever he opens up the fridge and he sees like all the remains, and the lighting's really nice there with Ghostface and him discovering Greg in the fridge, and so I really like the opening, and I really like us bonding with the characters for the first like, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes until everything starts to get really, really silly. But yeah.
Nice. Blake?
My favorite moments, that whole subway sequence, I really enjoyed it. I like what they did with the lighting. I thought it built up suspense pretty well. Yes, Mindy should have died, but the scene as a whole, I really enjoyed. I love seeing all the different masks. Like some of y'all were saying earlier, I think they could have, even played more into it being Halloween. And I think it made that scene a lot of fun. But the Bodega scene was great too. I like seeing Ghostface with a shotgun. I didn't mind that at all. And the moments with Tara and Chad too, that really helped those characters become my favorite of the movie. I did like those moments.
Yeah, they were really good, and they kind of started that off from the very beginning when we saw those two together. And obviously it built up to that last moment, which I hate to say it, keep saying it, but would have made Chad's death so much more impactful.
Yeah.
But you know, what the fuck ever. I don't write. I'm whatever. I guess the moments that stick out for me pretty much outside of I think the Chad and Tara scenes are really, really good character-wise. But mine are basic. Mine are going to be Ghostface's scenes. And the three that stick out for me is number 3, I would go Gale's apartment chase scene. Like, I really like that. I just really like the fact that I feel like, and really just throughout this entire movie, that Ghostface is like, I love the fact that despite Gale like throwing stuff in front of Ghostface and like Scream 3 or 2, we would see him trip over that stuff or her trip, whoever it was. And we didn't see that. We saw, Ghostface kind of really in his bag, on his game, and right on Gale's ass. So I really like that scene a lot. The apartment scene really stuck out to me as well. And then honestly throwing in the subway scene. But number one for me will probably be the bodega scene, because I feel like that is the scene with Ghostface where we don't get any corny comedy afterwards. And it really works really, really well. And again, when I sit back and I think about all of the scenes that I just named off, again, it goes to probably my favorite part of this movie is spending a lot of time in these scenes with Ghostface. Like, I think, Jess, you alluded to it with the bodega scene. It felt really long. And there was a point where once he got the shotgun in his hand, it was very quiet, which it felt like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought they did that scene and that entire bodega scene really, really well. And the fact that he attacked them outside in New York streets, like, I don't want to, obviously not broad daylight, but really out in the open, and then just came in the store with people in there, did not give a fuck. Like, I just thought that was done really, really well. So that would probably be my number one for sure. So,
Nice.
Favorite character. This is a good one, because when I first made this, I think when I made this, I did not I didn't see the movie yet. So I was like, well, I sure hope it's a lot better than 5, because I would literally pick nobody. All right, so favorite character, I am going to kick it over to you, Kev.
Ooh, favorite character. I mean, it's Chad. Chad was just really endearing and had a few really nice soft moments and brought some levity and some heart to this movie. And man, if they had the balls to kill him off while he's staring at Tara and Sam, he's just saying go, that would have been that they had something. But I also think Sam was really likable. Like, like you said, I don't know if it's the writing or the acting from Scream 5, but it's just so tough to watch. And she just felt like she had a chip on her shoulder in this movie. And so like I was pleasantly surprised by her acting and what she was bringing to this movie, like I said, until it got just really contrived and silly. So those two.
Final girl, Jess?
I know a lot of you said you didn't care for her, but I really liked Mindy Meeks. She's so much like her uncle. I feel like, the whole jokes after the deaths, like how Mike was saying, I wish everyone would just leave that out and her be the one cracking the jokes, because when she would make those jokes, it was sarcastic and blunt, but it was so like funny. I caught myself laughing a lot of times whenever I see her like all paranoid, like fuck, like I thought she was funny, and I feel like she carried and landed those jokes. If you're gonna be meta, I feel like that's okay to be it, but like you have to land it, and I feel like her acting and her lines really landed for me. So I enjoyed seeing her do that. I wish it was just her making the jokes and being funny like that. But, I liked her.
I 1000% agree with that. And again, now that I think about it, going back to Scream 5, she was my favorite character in Scream 5, just because I love the way that her character was written and the way it was delivered. And even in this movie, like, this is a perfect example. Like, I know you can be way over the top with the whole meta stuff, but like when she was calling out like somebody with a Letterboxd account just writing reviews or something like that, like
targeted.
I'm not gonna lie, that made me chuckle. That made me smile a little bit.
Yeah.
My sister's like, "What is Letterboxd?" And I'm like, "You don't even know." Like, let's talk about that. But I
like that one.
But I like stuff like that. But like when I to your point, like when I talk about comedy and landing jokes and like that scene where they're in a circle talking to each other, I'm okay with stuff like that. It was, again, going back to when they were made in the darker moments. That's when I have a big problem with it. But I agree. I thought Mindy was good in this one as well as 5. So what about you, Blake?
Got to stick with Chad. He was definitely, I mean, I know your guys' opinions on Scream 5, but I mean, I enjoyed those characters. Yes,
Bro, if
there
you
should have
love
been
it,
more there.
if you love it. Stand up for it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Trust me.
say
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I love it, but I will admit I did like the new characters that we got. And I'm just really glad that Chad was one that we got from 5 that really got to shine bright in 6. So going with Chad.
Very good choice. Discount Final Girl.
I'm joining the Chad train. Love Chad. Also, thought Sam was really great. Also, liked Sam's boyfriend, Danny. I think Homeboy knew what he wanted, and he had like one facial expression. It was like, I can't even do it. He was like confused the whole time. He
The
looked
whole
constipated.
time
Yeah.
I was trying to think where he was from. I was like, he looks so familiar.
Yeah.
Where have I seen him before? But he wasn't She-Hulk, so I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, I didn't.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I was like, does he have an accent? Does he not have an accent? Like,
He
what?
he just talks
Yeah,
like that.
is he supposed to be
Mumble,
a
yeah.
Hispanic? Yeah, like what are you doing?
He just talks
But,
like that. Like that's how he talked in She-Hulk as well.
You know what? I kind of, and he's got that like limp at the end when they're all like limping towards the exit. I'm like, why are you limping? What did you do, dude? You didn't get stabbed. Like, all right. But yeah, didn't mind his character. I also liked Mindy at certain points too. So they're all likable, except for
Hold on.
I don't know.
Well, we're definitely gonna get to least favorite character.
Oh shit, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. We're an hour and 15 minutes into this, so I get it. I would go for me. I would have to go Sam, just because I felt like the big turnaround that she had. She was very good in this movie, very believable. I thought her lines really delivered. And she just put on a performance that I really enjoyed, like that I was hoping for in 5 that we didn't get. So for me to go to really not liking that character to coming out really enjoying her character, I thought was really, really big. And I'll be, again, I thought this movie surprised me in many ways. And I would probably say one of the most things that surprised me was coming out really enjoying her character and her, her character arc. I thought it was done really well. So I would go Sam Carpenter for sure. And obviously you got to throw in the Chad. I mean, you get that heartfelt kind of, I don't want to say Dewey role. I want to respect Dewey, but we really haven't had that heartfelt guy. You know what I mean? Since Dewey. I mean, he was kind of
true.
I mean, even in 5, he was kind of in a dark place. So he was kind of really that last character that we got to kind of touch on that. So those would probably be my 2 for sure. All right, least favorite character. I am going to kick it over to you, Final Girl Jess.
I did not care for Ethan. I feel like, again, going back to the oversaturated cast.
But he had an alibi. He had an alibi.
I don't know.
What did he say whenever he said, "I killed this alpha named Chad"? And fucking, I don't know what that line was, but it was.
No, that's a very this generation joke. Like,
Ugh.
Okay,
Chad-
Andrew Tate.
Yeah, Chad.
Yeah.
Chad would fuck him up too.
Yeah.
So come on
Mm-hmm.
now. Kev, what about you?
Oh man. I mean, I got qualms with everybody, no surprise, but I had a hard time really connecting with Tara in this. I don't know, man. She just really was very off-putting to me a lot throughout the movie, and she would say things that like we execute them, or she would steal the cop car. She was really abrasive a lot, and so it was hard for me. I wanted to love her character more because Jenna Ortega is very likable and charismatic, but this one was just not doing it for me. And then obviously Detective Bailey is like the worst.
See, I liked
And
him
then-
up until his fucking
Oh
reveal.
man,
I
I wasn't
reveal.
I wasn't
I
I
wasn't
wasn't a fan.
I wasn't feeling him at all. And then
I don't know, man.
I like, this is a little bit of a hot take, but I like Mindy. She's very likable, but man, the jokes were just too much. Like when they're in the shrine, and if I'm going in that shrine and I've been attacked by Ghostface, I am on my toes. I am like, I don't want
Yeah.
to be here. And Mindy's just like, I'm looking at you, Ethan. It was too much. So, yeah.
I like that because, in my opinion, both of those are hot takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mindy and Tara.
Yeah.
I think those are hot takes. So no, man, really, really, really good. Blake, what about you, man?
Yeah, I had Ethan written down as well. And I mean, sometimes it kind of feels almost unfair to have these characters as well because we do get such little screen time.
Mhm.
So it is kind of hard to choose like least favorite character that actually has an impact. But overall, like when it came down to the motives and Ethan, Ethan the cop. I would say I was not really feeling Wayne Bailey throughout this film. And then I mean, reveal at the end was the cherry on top. So yeah, I could just go with that family. Fuck Richie's family.
Well said.
I agree, dude, but I'll be honest with you, man. I'll take them all day over what we got last movie. I'm sorry, like
Not me,
man. Like I don't like what was her name?
Amber.
Amber.
Bro, when she said Dewey died like a pussy, I'm like, excuse me? What did you just say? Like,
Yeah, she
I
sucked,
feel like
but I believed her more than
that's the
Richie.
thing. I feel like that fits that actress and like Amber,
Yeah.
because and like I was telling Michael, I know we had a problem with the way she died too. But being, a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood fan, I love that she caught on fire, just like she caught on fire in that movie too. So it's like now I need her to die every time catching on fire.
in every movie she's in.
Every movie.
She plays bitchy and like evil so well. So
Yeah.
She does.
I didn't mind.
She did it good.
Unhinged.
Maybe I just hate 5 so much. I'm
Maybe.
just like, you know what? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, what about you, Discount Final Girl?
Detective Bailey, not a fan. And fuck Richie's family. I'm on that train. But also, Kirby. Kirby, like, it's to the point where she had so little to do with absolutely anything important that I was like, why are you here? What are you doing here? Her lines weren't written well. Maybe I have to like empathize with the fact that it's her return to acting. I love it. I love Kirby as a character, but in this movie, not so much.
Yeah, I would say my number one is Kirby. And I think a lot of that has to do with I was expecting so much. And I don't know if that Jess just left or she doesn't care about the podcast. That's fine. I get it. No, but I would go. I would definitely go Kirby for sure.
Mhm.
So I don't know. A lot of that may have to do with the writing and how much she was on screen. But like even when she was on screen, I feel like everything that she said outside of going through like the past killer lineup with Bailey, like I just did not enjoy at all.
Yeah.
And I think one of the corniest things of the movie is the whole TV scene. I didn't like that. So
It's terrible.
when the TV fell on her. So all right, let's go ahead and I don't know where she went. Maybe she got kicked out.
Her computer died.
I was
Oh,
gonna
did
say,
it?
what if her shit died?
Yeah, it died.
Okay. So maybe is she can you ask her if she's coming back? Because I want to go through our Scream rankings, and I don't want her to miss out on it. Okay, she's back. I think she's back.
Okay.
Cool.
My computer died.
Hi, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna go. All right, anything else on the movie that anybody wants to talk about before we dive into our rankings? I know we've been talking a lot about this, but we had a lot to get out. Okay, let's jump into our rankings. Who wants to take this dive first? Because I have talked to a lot of people on this panel, and Kevin tried to guess my ranking.
Oh, did I not get it right?
I'm not answering that.
I did.
I'll go first.
Okay, all right. Let's go with the.
I'll go
Discount
first
Final
because
Girl.
mine is fairly straightforward. Okay.
Okay.
Obviously from best to worst, but 1, 2, and 3, they're locked in. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 5.
Okay.
So yes, I wavered back and forth with 4 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
The more I watch 4, the more I really
Interesting.
like 4. I
So-
love
yeah?
Jill. I am such a Jill fan. I think
Are you?
Amber took notes from Jill. I am. I love Jill. I think she's like such an unhinged
I would.
bitch,
Mhm.
and I love it.
That's
I
the
was-
best part of the movie for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and I would say that's probably one of one of the most surprise reveals I've ever gotten in a Scream movie. So
Yeah.
as much as I'm not a fan of that movie. I would say that Jill is a pretty good standout.
Mm-hmm.
So, who wants to go next?
Oh, okay.
You want to go? All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, are we doing? We'll do number 1, right? First.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
It's up to you.
So number 1, I have Scream 3. I'm just kidding.
Oh man, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Your
I'm
face
just
is so good.
I was about to say, I
Okay.
believed you too. I believe
We need a
Dang.
screenshot of everyone's reaction.
I know.
But can we be honest though? How many times have we seen? At least for me, like especially on Letterboxd, like I've seen Scream the original like at the bottom, and I'm like,
I'm
Mm.
saying,
bro, like, come on, all right, little.
Okay. Let me finish just in case my thing dies again because I don't know if it's charging. Okay. So number 1, I have Scream from '96. Scream 2 a second. 3, I have Scream 6 because I liked it. I want to go see it again. I thought it was fun. I mean, we're never gonna get a perfect original, Scream. This is for the new fans, for the old fans. They have to combine it somehow. So
Fair.
I liked it.
Mhm.
So, and then for 4, I have Scream 3. 5, I have Scream 5. And then 6, I have Scream 4.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's a good ranking.
Very
Yeah,
good.
It's different.
Very good
Mhm.
ranking. All right, I'll go next. So for me, I'll start off with 1, the original, not being touched. Sorry about it. Not gonna happen. Scream 2, big fan. Not gonna happen. Not gonna be touched. Kevin. Number 3 is Scream 6.
I got it. I was
what happened
right.
to Scream 3?
Scream 3 dropped for me.
No!
and-
Y'all hate Scream 3. What's going on?
No, I love
No,
Scream
that's
3.
my Scream 3 boy right there.
We're boys. We're Scream 3 boys, man. But
No, you're
I'm
not
not
anymore.
That shit. Listen, man, I'll go to my grave saying this. As much as like my favorite franchise is Halloween, but for me personally, I think the Scream franchise is way more solid than any other horror franchise out there as far as slashers. Like it just is. And then Scream 3, 4, I love that movie. And then these 2 movies I just not the biggest fan of. Scream 4 at number 4 for me. There are elements of it that I do like, to the Jill standpoint. But outside of that, not the biggest fan of it. I will say it has one of my favorite kills in it is the bedroom scene across the street. I think that was obviously very gory. Really, really gory. One of my favorite kills in the franchise. So outside of that, I mean, last is Scream 5, and I don't want to say anything about that. So whoever wants to go next for Blake and Kevin, it's up to you. Kevin, congratulations.
I did get it right, man.
You guessed my ranking.
Wow.
So.
I'll go
Blake,
next.
Blake, I'm sorry. I appreciate you staying on. You look blown right now. So
Oh my god, yeah, I'll go next. Okay. I'm trying to think if I want to start from the bottom or the top first. I'm gonna go backwards. You know what? I'm gonna go backwards. So in last place, last place, I do have Scream 4. And now these next 2 it gets a little tricky. So as of right now, in 5th, I do have Scream 5. And then 4th, I have did I say right? Yeah. 5th, I have Scream 6. Yeah, 5th, Scream 6. 4th, Scream 5. But I will say I could see those 2 switching, after a rewatch or something. I don't know. I feel like those 2 are very interchangeable. If it was up to me, I could honestly put them as a tie, in my opinion. But as of right now, in 5th, Scream 6, 4th, Scream 5, and then 3, Scream 3, 2, 1, obviously 1. It's just something about those first 3 feel very cinematic to me. I know we were talking about Scream 3 the other week, Michael. Yeah, it has its cons in there as well.
don't matter. It's really good.
Yeah.
Don't let them have it. Don't let the Scream 3 haters have it. It's a good movie.
I just love how cinematic those first 3 feel, and I'm sticking with those first 3.
I love it.
Well, if you love it, I guess I know your first three.
I mean, I was gonna say maybe I'm just hopelessly devoted to those first three movies, but man, like I went back and rewatched them after Scream 6, and they're just like Blake said, they're so cinematic and there's a warmth and like there's so much life to them and depth to them. And so my number one, no surprise, is the OG. Number two is Scream 3. I love that movie so much. 3 is Scream 2. And here's where I'm still procrastinating these next two. It's like, for now, I'm going to go number 4 is Scream 6. 5 is Scream 4. I went back, like I just watched Scream 4 the other night, and there's little parts that I love, but overall that movie almost feels like it stands in its own place in the franchise. It's almost like this bridge from the cinematic part of the franchise to like where we're kind of at now. There's a uniqueness about it. It's hard to really kind of pinpoint, but Scream 4 is number 5, and then Scary Movie 2, Scary Movie 3, and Scream 5.
Really good ranking. I kind of figured that's where you might go. My biggest, I guess, hiccup for you was going to be, did you like Scream 4, 5, or 6 or 5 more until you told me what you liked.
I gotta watch 6
because I know
times.
I know you said you did not like 4 at first. I know we kind of talked about that back and forth, and I brought this up to you earlier. I have never been a big fan of the Rob Zombie Halloween films, but I did rewatches after I went and saw Halloween Ends, and like I am really starting to love that first Rob Zombie film, like really love it. And for a lot of people, that's a hot take. Obviously, not on this panel, but and I don't know if a lot of that has to do with my like distaste in what we got from Halloween Ends and I guess this new trilogy in general. So I'm just asking you, like, do you think that you're enjoying Scream 4 more because you actually enjoy it, or because you don't like these two movies as much?
Probably the later. It's like I just, man, like at least Scream 4, like even though it's over the top at the end with Dewey getting hit with a bedpan, whereas like all like the hospital workers,
he got fucked up.
It does get ridiculous, but I like the characters I think a little bit more in Scream 4, obviously, and you still have like the returning 3, but going back to like the Radio Silence movies, there's like I feel like they're bad movies hiding underneath a beloved IP and horror icon. That's a bold statement, but I just think there's more likability in 4, even though Scream 6 is better well made and is probably more enjoyable just to watch. I think Scream 4 still did something more unique than Scream 6 or anything in Scream 5.
Justice for Scream 4. Justice for Scream 4. One day you all will see and you all will understand.
Hey, no, hold on. Listen.
I don't hate any of these. All right, you know, they all got their pros and cons, but
I hate 1, and it's Scream 5.
See, I don't hate any of them.
I do. Like, I don't know.
I will never voluntarily watch Scream 5.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think.
It's a hard watch. How's it feel to be on an island, Blake?
Bro, you know what?
Wait, Jeff, did you like Scream 5?
No, or Scream 5. It's before 4. I mean, again, like what Blake was saying, I like all of them, but I dislike 4 because I feel like it's not rewatchable for me. Where like, I want to put that on and watch it.
Well,
that's
see,
fair. Yeah.
I mean, 5 isn't either, but I feel like I liked it because I like the kills and we're in Woodsboro.
Even though I have Scream 5 ranked higher, you know what? Scream 4, I think it still does kind of have more of a rewatchable factor to it because it feels like one of those horror movies that you could just throw on the TV just because. And I know this goes back to the Halloween franchise as well. You know, that's my favorite franchise too. Same. And yeah, I am one to admit there are definitely, you know, some bad movies in there, but a lot of those bad movies kind of are some guilty pleasures. And like, I love throwing on, you know, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, even though that
whoa. I love that movie. I love that movie. Now, if we want to talk Halloween 5, I'm gonna have to leave, but we can talk Halloween
Whoa,
6.
I would gladly watch Halloween 5 a million times before I
think
watch Scream 5.
I think
Oh my god!
Halloween-
I just hear Tina screaming in my headphones right now.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
I think Halloween 4 to 6 have a very rewatchable factor to it.
Oh, I love that.
So I don't know. Every you know,
So
every
now
single
everyone rank your favorite Halloween movies.
Yeah.
Hey, Blake, you don't know Kevin too well. What do you think his favorite Halloween movie is?
I don't know. Well, you said that comment about this group in the Rob Zombie Halloween, so it's making me
no.
think the first Rob Zombie Halloween.
It's the second. Second one's my favorite.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it is.
But see, I love that.
I love
though.
that movie so much.
I love that
So
he
good.
loves that movie.
Okay, so I was on the right track.
Is it as rewatchable as like 1 or 2 or H2O? No, but I just love how bold and dark it is. It's a true horror movie. I love it.
Interesting.
I will say, it's probably one of my like that opening first 15 to 20 minutes. Like that's my shit. And then I start seeing white horses, and I start,
It's barely in there though. It's barely in there.
But man, I mean, no, I love that, man. And listen, I really appreciate you guys spending over 2 hours on this podcast with me. It's been absolutely fun. I know this is an episode that we've been looking forward to most, and I think the most positive thing out of this is whether we love this movie, hate this movie, or it's just there. It did very good for the horror genre, and that is only positive for people like us who love the genre. So, again, I appreciate you guys really coming on here and spending the time with me. And before we wrap up, I will give you anything else that you want to say about the movie, anything you want to say at all, and then give your socials where you are so people can follow you, because all y'all have a lot of stuff going on, and I want people to be able to view your content. Blake's TikTok famous, so it is what it is. So Kev, we'll start with you. We'll just go Kev, Blake, Final Girl Jess, and Discount Jess.
Yeah, well, man, I think I speak for all of us. Just thank you so much for having us on to talk about this franchise that we love so much. I could talk about it all day. And it was so cathartic to talk about this, man. Like it felt like it took forever to finally get here, but had a blast, man. You guys can find me on Instagram at Watch Horror Films, YouTube, Kevin Ketchy, and Letterboxd, Kevin Ketchy, where I'll be finally dropping my in-depth review about this movie, probably tonight.
Yeah, Michael, you're the man. Thanks for putting this together. It was nice to finally meet everybody. I agree with what you said. I just love to see that, these Scream movies still are doing really well at the box office. And that's a good sign for the horror genre in general. So one day we're going to have to hop on here too and do a 5-hour podcast of a Halloween franchise.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah,
down for that.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, thanks again. Catch me at Blake's Takes on TikTok, Apple, Spotify, all the podcast platforms, YouTube, Twitch. Kind of new to Letterboxd, but I love Letterboxd now. That is my shit.
It's addicting, right?
It is so addicting. But yeah, pretty much everywhere you can. Our link tree is in the bio of all of our socials, so give us a follow.
Okay, my turn. You can find me on Instagram, Final Girl Jess, Letterboxd too. I love doing Letterboxd. What is it? Oh yeah, it's Final Girl Jess also. I had fun. I really want to do a Halloween ranking too to see everybody's.
Yes.
Yeah, I always have
That'll
fun.
be good.
You guys are all so well spoken, and I always have fun with all of you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. It was so good to talk with you guys. Second or third the Halloween ranking. That was so fun. Or would be so fun. But yeah, my Instagram at Discount Final Girl. Same with my YouTube channel. Letterboxd is Disco Final Girl because there wasn't enough characters and I had to sacrifice one. And I'm really lazy with Letterboxd and I shouldn't be, but sometimes I write really in-depth reviews. Sometimes it's just 3 sentences that it's just my chaotic thoughts. They're so stupid, but
that's the beauty of Letterboxd, though.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, seriously. And then TikTok Discount Funnel Girls. So yeah, Linktree, links in the bio. But thank you guys again. Thank you for hosting this. This is so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And make sure you all follow them. Their content is absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, we'll have to come back on here, do a Halloween ranking. And then in that Halloween ranking, I didn't get to get to it this time, but I need to know how you guys break down Letterboxd and what you're like, what stars
yes.
mean for what. Like we're gonna have to discuss that because
chaos. This is chaos.
Yeah, I was about to say it's chaos. So can't wait to dive into that again. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everybody who joined the chat. Thank you if you're listening after the fact on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next episode.